Yo, what is up, everyone? This is Kaizouwar here, and BlazBlue is officially 15 years old, and it is so unreal to say that. I said the exact same thing when BlazBlue had its 10th anniversary, and now it's been 5 years since then. I have been with the BlazBlue series since Continuum Shift 1, so I guess I technically haven't been with this series the entire 15 years, but Continuum Shift 1 came out in 2010. So, it's been 13 years since then, and that's a lot of years I've been with BlazBlue. It's so unreal. So unreal following this series this entire time with all the new games coming out, the revisions to old games, balance patches. There was Alter Memory coming out as its first anime, various manga drops, light novel drops that tie into the story, that kind of stuff. It's just crazy how much stuff of BlazBlue exists now, and how much of that stuff has come out in these past 15 years. It's completely insane that BlazBlue is as big as it is now. Now, it's not like worldwide famous or nothing, and BlazBlue will never be, but just think how BlazBlue started as a simple arcade game back in 2008, and look how much stuff there is to it now, which is actually pretty crazy. You can say that for a lot of games like Guilty Gear or various other fighting games that have gained traction over the years, but BlazBlue was a really, really special series, and I really believe that it deserves more than it has at the moment. So we're in an era of BlazBlue where it is pretty unknown what the series is going to be like now. BlazBlue Central Fiction was intended to be the end of Ragna's story with a future unknown. Now, technically, that future isn't all the way unknown because we did have things that come out since BlazBlue Central Fiction. First thing we had was BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, and I get it. A lot of people aren't a fan of that game, but I personally like Cross Tag Battle. It started to pick up from what it used to be. It started out really bad. Marketing was terrible. There was a bunch of DLC issues, but the current game as of this moment is all right. It's not perfect, but I believe that it's a good game to play now, even if other people won't, agree with that opinion I hold. But I personally like Cross Tag Battle now. I didn't like it when it was, first dropped because it was very bare bones. It had nothing, content or anything like that. But it's still not too different from what it originally was. But all the stuff they added into it makes the game a lot fuller and more livelier than it was before. And I definitely hold that opinion. After that, we got BlazBlue Alternative Dark War, which was a mobile game that Mori has had in the works since, Cross Tag Battle was announced. He's been having that game worked on since then. And when it officially came out, it was in Japan, as that's BlazBlue's home country. But the game only lasted 11 months. It's unknown as to why, but normally when these mobile games die like this, it's more due to a lack of interest of why these mobile games die too easily. Again, BlazBlue's a niche series, and not a lot of BlazBlue fans were probably going to pick up the mobile game, especially we don't know really. We don't have really a bunch of numbers attached to the game, so we don't know how many people are actually downloading the game and playing it. But the point is, Alternative Dark War only lasted 11 months. And it was actually kind of sad, really, really sad how the game died so fast, because clearly there's going to be more lore and content, and granted it was in Japan only, but I've seen a lot of people translate stuff. I was, really engaged with it. I was wanting to see more of it, and the game did crash a lot on my end. The game was not stable. I don't know how other people handled their play experience with. My experience with Alternative Dark War, at least on a fundamental, functional level, was really terrible. Granted, that could be due to my phone. The game probably didn't work too hot with my phone, but I had a bunch of issues with crashing and maintenance issues, and I clearly see a lot of maintenance issues as a big thing back when Alternative Dark War was running. But the point is, it didn't last too long, and it's dead, and then that kind of set the stage for what we have now with Mori himself leaving ArcSys. I wholeheartedly believe that BlazBlue Alternative Dark War's rocky development time and the issues that happened with the game post its launch were the reasons Mori left Arc System Works. Or he could have left for some other reason, right? He wanted to probably leave to realize his own ambitions and start his own company. a lot of people, like a lot of developers leave other companies to do their own thing. It's just how it is. You know, they want to, you know, find better opportunities for themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you were to ask me, I do believe that Alternative Dark War and maybe a little bit of Cross Tag Battle has something to do with it. Don't know. You know, Mori's never actually going to say it. We're never actually going to hear his side of the story. But that's the only guess I can really take. But what's going on with BlazBlue now? The CEO of Arc System Works, Minoru Kitaoka, did mention that BlazBlue was going to keep going. BlazBlue and Guilty Gear are the only fighting games they have currently that they've made like by themselves, right? Like straight up self-published, self-made, their own IPs, right? So obviously BlazBlue would just be weird to just toss out, right? I mean, that's all they really have outside of Guilty Gear. And speaking of Guilty Gear, I did hear that Kitaoka did mention that he didn't want BlazBlue and Guilty Gear competing with each other, which is why Guilty Gear is probably the main focus right now, which I can totally understand. Guilty Gear has its own issues way back in the day when they had to get the license back, and then when XR came out, you know, XR and, you know, BlazBlue were working side by side up until Central Fiction, and then Guilty Gear just kept going with new updates like with Rev 2, and then now we got Guilty Gear Strive and all its updates. But BlazBlue's been kind of dormant ever since outside, like, you know, the end of Alternative Dark War. And if we're going back to games that people could play overseas and everywhere else, Cross Tag Battle. And Cross Tag Battles stopped getting updates years ago. So, you know, we don't know what's going to happen with any of that. The only thing we have of BlazBlue right now that's active, quote unquote, is BlazBlue Entropy Effect, which is a roguelike game being developed by 91 Act. Entropy Effect is a weird game. I've never played it myself, but I have been watching people and talking to people about it just to see what's going on with it. And people thoroughly enjoy it. So I give that a thumbs up. I'm happy that BlazBlue Entropy Effect was really good, so people enjoy it. But a lot of people have been saying that the game kind of feels like it's just a roguelike game without BlazBlue's, like, you know, charm to it. It's just more like a roguelike game with BlazBlue in it. But hey, at least as long as the game's fun to play, you know, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's a good BlazBlue game, so why not? But outside of Entropy Effect, that's all we have. And it's such a weird thing to say that, like, the last BlazBlue thing we have going on is this roguelike game, which, like, I honestly, Entropy Effect came out of nowhere. And I know I've talked about this topic many times before. We don't know who's going to be even in charge of BlazBlue now. Like, obviously, Mori isn't the only person working on BlazBlue. You know, when people make these games, there's tons of people working on it. Daisuke, even though he makes the music for Guilty Gear, even though he makes the characters, you know, he writes the story for the characters, there's a huge team of people that help Daisuke to make Guilty Gear. He can't do everything on his own. He literally can't do all the coding and all the other shit on his own. I mean, hell, there's probably even story scenarios that, you know, people have to help him write, stuff like that, right? But with BlazBlue, we don't really know. I mean, we could probably look at, you know, credits and stuff like that all day long, but again, we don't know. I mean, we don't even know when BlazBlue's actually going to get anything new outside of Entropy Effect. And I feel like Entropy Effect is probably the main focus, even though Arc System Works aren't developing the game themselves, or they're overseeing it. They have to because it's their IP, BlazBlue's their IP. But 91 Act is pretty much calling the shots on Entropy Effect and, you know, goofing around with that. So as for what Arc System is going to do with BlazBlue, we don't know. But we don't, considering Guilty Gear Strive is still going strong, getting new characters, new content, all that stuff, and how Kitaoka said that he didn't want BlazBlue and Guilty Gear competing with each other, it's going to be a while before we see BlazBlue again, and I don't know how to feel about that. Granted, it could just easily come out of nowhere. They could come out with a game tomorrow, and I wouldn't even know, because I'll probably be knocked out and shocked and probably pass out in excitement or something like that. But again, we don't know. We don't know what's up. It's just limbo, you know. And this is weird, you know. BlazBlue has been going pretty consistently for years, for 15 years. And, you know, whether it be a new game, a new revision, balance patches to an old game. Again, Alter Memory came out as an anime. New manga stuff like with Remix Heart, Variable Heart, yada yada. Just other random manga, light novels, even though we couldn't read those light novels and those manga, they still came out. There was still BlazBlue news to talk about, right? There was still BlazBlue news to see. But with BlazBlue being in its limbo state, all we have is Entropy Effect, and I don't necessarily count news for Entropy Effect because nothing. I don't think anything in Entropy Effect is going to like shake up BlazBlue, right? It's just throw-like, right? It's just a game that 91 Axis created, and I'm not devaluing Entropy Effect, but there's nothing to talk about in regards to that game, and there's nothing to like bring up about it. It's just something that's happening. It's just another BlazBlue project, and I guess that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as long as BlazBlue was getting something, I would take it over nothing. I would take it over being a dormant franchise, but it kind of is dormant right now. So, I mean, the most recent thing happened was like cross-tag battle getting on Xbox, if you want to count that as recent, before Entropy Effect like fully came out. But even then, that doesn't really count to me. It's just support. But it's something. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I'm scared, but excited at the same time. I'm hopeful, but hesitant. It's really weird, because like I never thought BlazBlue would get into this state before, right? I think this is what happened when I felt the same way about Guilty Gear, because I did grow up during those times where Guilty Gear was going through its weird, spin-off phase, with Guilty Gear Isuka and Judgment, all the other little mini games that came out, side games that came out during those time, Overtour, right? And the many revisions of XX, that kind of thing, Dutch Strikers, that kind of shit. And I don't know, man. Like, XR came back, so, Guilty Gear came back, and look how big it is now, Look how big Guilty Gear is now. So, I'm not expecting BlazBlue to come out with a bang and become the biggest gaming franchise, like one of the biggest fighting games out there ever now, but I'm hopeful, if a bit afraid. But yeah, that's all we have. That's all we really have. 15 years of BlazBlue. I feel like, it's still been a great 15 years, despite the issues with what's going on with BlazBlue now. It's been a good 15 years. It's a lot of BlazBlue to consume. And even though we don't have anything new right now, I mean, hell, we got Central Fiction, one of the best fighting games ever made. Cross-Tag Battle, even though it's, not everyone's cup of tea, it's still a really fun fighting game that you can still play, right? Hell, you have a whole 15-year worth story to look up, Like, this is a good time for lore heads to go back and, check out the whole stuff about BlazBlue. People who are interested to go check back stuff about BlazBlue. Hell, you got all the games available on Steam. You can literally go buy every BlazBlue game on Steam, which is already going on sale at the time. And even for physical PS3 copies of the games, they're dirt cheap. And you can buy them for a collection, right? So, there's YouTube videos out there, talk about the lore and stuff like that. Or, there's other people who play online, because now these games have, with Cross-Tag Battle and Central Fiction on Steam, and with Cross-Tag Battle on PS4 as well, they got rollback netcode, so you can also play these games online. It's like, there's so much that's come out in all these years that's done good for BlazBlue, and even though we don't have anything now, I think what we have now is still good enough to hold us over until something new comes out, and I think that's a great thing.